Hello and welcome to Jill Cameron Creations. Today we're going to be Copic coloring some fabric texture. We're going to be using a digital stamp and it is from the Paper Shelter. It's called The Little Witch and Her Dragon. Now I imported this image as a JPEG into my Silhouette Studio program and I printed it out on 80-pound Nina Solar white cardstock. And I printed it with registration marks on it. That way I could go back and cut out the image when I wanted to. And when I wanted to make a card. So I'm going to color the black hat. And I'm going to talk you through what I did first on this. And then, because this video is pretty long, it's about 25 minutes. I'm going to play some music after I finish coloring the hat here. And you can enjoy the rest of the coloring. And then I'll come back when we're putting the card together. So to color black on anything, you still have that highlight area that you need. But fabric's a little bit different. Fabric has texture and lines and thread in it. And when I think of a witch's hat, I think of a shiny witch's hat. I think of shiny material. I don't think of like felt or anything. In order to create that shiny texture for the hat, you have to use tiny little uneven strokes. Now, y'all have heard me say this a million times before. I choke my ink pens and pencils. So I really have to fight myself not to choke my markers. In order to get this fine tip and that flick motion in the strokes that I'm using, you want to hold the marker as straight up as possible. You don't want it to be over to the side or anything, because then you're going to have more of the marker actually touch the paper. So you're going to want to have these uneven strokes, and you want to have them not fully colored in, as you could see. It took me probably about 20 minutes just to color the hat, because I was very conscious of what I was doing and how I was coloring. I used 100, C9, C7, and C5. You could actually go one step down more if you wanted to, but I was really pleased with how that highlight looked and the texture in that hat. I will have all of the colors listed in the description below the video and over on my blog, and all the products that I'm using will be linked as well. When we're finishing up the card, I'll talk about the cardstock that I'm using. But for now, I'm just going to play a little bit of music soft in the background, and you enjoy the rest of the coloring. All right, now we're going to finish up our color in here with a little bit of the brown, and I'm going to go back and color in her cheeks and her lips, and that'll be about it. At the end, I'll add some glitter brush marker over the gold on the hat and the gold on the harness for the little dragon and on the orange spots. If you noticed, I don't know whether you did or not, but I colored green on the saddle on the back of the little dragon there. But I colored over it in brown, and now you don't know it. It just looks like it's part of the dark shadow of it. I also had some spots that I needed to clean up that were where I colored outside of the lines because, let's face it, we're not perfect. So on the darkest color, I used white gel pen and just colored over that image and on the end of her hair there. And then on the underside and the top side of the hat where it was just the light marker, then I actually just used the blending solution marker, the zero colorless blender marker, and blended it out and never, ever, ever saw it anymore. Then I ran this through my die cutting machine of my Silhouette Cameo. Woohoo! Love that thing. I found some dotted stripy paper that's black and white, and the cardstock that I'm using is actually from Maker Forte, which is a new company, and Alexandra has so many different products over there that are just absolutely adorable. I love her color line, this bright yellow and that really elegant purple, and it really went very well with my dragon girl there. I wanted to have a little bit of color on this yellow, so I used Catherine Pooler's sketched plaid background stamp with some autumn leaves ink. That's scrapbook.com. I don't know if you notice here, I've actually started using a popsicle stick for a lot of things in my craft room lately. I picked it up remembering the other day that I could actually use it to hold down a piece of cardstock on my cutting board while I was heat embossing something, and it's laying there right in my face now. So I actually used it to press down in over top of that stamp to get a really good image impression on it instead of just using my hand, and also to smooth the glue out under stuff as I'm gluing it down, and it's worked amazingly well. Something as simple as a popsicle stick. Who'd have thunk it? I went ahead and I set the yellow paper off at an angle and then just trimmed off the edges with my scissors. I ran through the purple with the twigs, border bling die from Paper Tray Ink. And isn't it ironic that I have a cat in the background meowing for us? Let me hush her up for a second. My apologies. She just got louder and louder. Bless her little heart. She just wants me to come downstairs and sit on the couch so she can sit in my lap. That's what she wants right now. So she keeps coming in my office and my craft room, bugging me. Anyway, so I die cut the purple cardstock and with the twigs border die there, and I didn't get one of the parts all the way through, so I just taped it back to the die and ran it back through my die cutting machine. My cutting plate that I'm using on the bottom is, as you can see, getting a little ratty there, so it just didn't get one of the places, and I didn't want to rip it, so I put that down and then pulled the washi tape off of it. No big deal. So I'm going to glue that down onto here, and I'm going to set that off at an angle as well. Then I'm going to glue our little dragon girl, and, well, technically the witch and her dragon. I'm going to glue that on top of this. I'm not using any foam tape or anything like that. Just straight up gluing everything flat down. And just the different layers here gives the card depth without actually having to add any depth to the card, without having to pop anything up. So I'm just going to glue this down flat and everything will look great. Then I'm going to actually use a sentiment. I made this into a get well card because you see Halloween cards. People get sick at Halloween. You could have made this into a birthday card too if you wanted to. But I had this sentiment in an older MFT stamp set that says, I heard you were dragon. So I had it just, and the look on her little face is kind of like a big question mark. So I had to go with that and thought it was great. The only thing is that I didn't like the placement of how they were together on here. So I actually cut the sentiments apart. I knew how big my paper was going to be, and I utilized the grid paper to align, to justify the sentiments, even though I decided that I was going to cut them apart afterwards. And I'm sorry, this is a little bit towards the bottom and off the screen there. I thought I was up higher than I was, but you still see everything. So I'm going to cut this out and use my Tim Holtz paper trimmer here and trim everything down, and then I'm just going to glue it flat down. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you learned a little bit of something about coloring texture on your fabrics, especially if they're going to be shiny like a witch's hat. Those tiny little strokes, and make sure you have that difference in color there to bring out that highlight, and then that'll give you that texture that you're looking for to make it look rounded and also look that that streaky look. I don't know what the fabric is because I'm not a fabric person, but it gives it that kind of striated look a little bit in there, which is really cool. So if you have any questions, let me know. Leave a comment below for me. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and so you don't miss any of my videos. And head over to my blog where I'll have a little bit more information about the tips and tricks of coloring with Copic markers. And also, I have all the products listed below and all the colors that I used for this particular one. Thanks so much for joining me today. I appreciate it. Y'all have a great one.